My name is Vincent Sellner. I'm a senior at the University of Notre Dame studying mechanical engineering, and I grew up in the western suburbs of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And next year, I will be a business technology analyst for Accenture at their Chicago office. I think it was visiting my grandparents. So I'm named after three grandparents, but one of them is Vicente Luna. And visiting him, he had a workshop in his basement, and he would always bring me down there when I was little, and we would look at all of his tools, all the projects that he was working on. He was definitely a handyman. I think he only went through like ninth grade. He joined the Army. They had him working on heavy machines. And so he was in the Korean War and drove huge bulldozers to make airstrips. So even though he didn't have as much formal education, he definitely had a lot of, that common sense and that way with machines. So I always respected that, and talking with him, working with him was very exciting. And he was always intentional to tell me like why we were doing something, why you'd have something this way and not that way, or why this was easier, why you should start with this and end with that. So, his example of just like a common sense, a safety, but just a way with machines and mechanisms and moving things really inspired me. And so I wanted to grow up to be just like him. So I think that also stems from just I love moving things. I love to travel. So when I was little, we lived in northern New Jersey, and there was a train that went right through our hometown. And so I think on maybe like Sunday nights, we would go and we'd wait for the train to come by. And so I was really little, and it definitely scared me. Because it's huge and it's fast and it makes a lot of noise, but I was also just fascinated by it. So I'd be like, holding on to my dad for dear life, but also like I couldn't look away because it was so interesting to see how the wheels moved and like the engine is roaring and is pulling all of like the passengers or the freight, and so I thought that was just the coolest thing. And then when I got older, my family and I were able to travel a lot by airplane. And so I loved airplanes. Like you step onto the airplane, you're kind of like in this new world. You can look outside and see everything from like, 30,000 feet. The turbines are, huge and loud, and, they're propelling you through the air. So it was airplanes, so it was trains, then it was airplanes. And then I grew up more, and I got my driver's license, and I love driving. And so I think it's just been like a progression of I've loved machines and moving things and how you can use that to just connect people, to get around, to see new places. So I wanted to be right in the middle of that, experience of like connecting people, bringing people to new experiences, and especially like bringing people back home. Yeah, so this past summer I was in Santa Clara working with a robotics company, and that was absolutely fantastic. So I got in touch with the Notre Dame Club of San Jose, Silicon Valley, and was paired up with a host family. And they were a Notre Dame family, and so they just loved hosting a student. But they really showed me like what was going on in the area, so I felt like I was a local for like 3 months. And so I really got to see like, here's all these tech companies, here's all these like, life sciences companies, and I could really see where our robotics company like fit in there. So their main office for this company was in Chicago. But there was this small research and development office that I got to be a part of that was strategically right in the middle of all of their clients. So if they got a call like, hey, we want a new robot, or like, hey, like we need some help, implementing something you made for us, we were 5 minutes away, which was really cool. And I really loved working with people in all different steps in their career. So I came in with 2 other interns and a new hire from Notre Dame. And I got to work with some kind of new engineers. They had been at the company maybe 2 years from Cal Poly. So that was really neat to see sort of what their background was, what their specialty was through their program, which was a little bit different than Notre Dame's. So that was really cool. And just being able to be in the heart of, I think, one of the most vibrant like robotics centers in the world really was fantastic. And seeing in real life things that we had learned about, things that we had talked about, and getting to be hands-on with some of the most advanced math and modeling that I had used in my homeworks and projects here, but seeing it come to life over the summer in this robot that was like flying around at like 5 Gs of acceleration, and like we had actually put it together with our own hands. Like it was fantastic. I was born and raised Catholic. I went to a Catholic kindergarten through 12th grade school, and I'm very thankful for that. I think my K through 12 school did a great job of integrating faith at the level that students could understand. So when you're in kindergarten, you're not trying to wrap your mind around the Trinity as 3 persons, and the attributes of each person. You get a nice chart that says the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Jesus is not the Father, they're both God. Jesus is not the Holy Spirit, they're both God. And so it was accessible, and it was intentional for the level of understanding for the students. But I really appreciated that as I got into middle school and high school, the theology that was just alive and flowing through the curriculum really tied together all of the other subjects, so that theology wasn't just like another class, it was a way of looking, it was a lens of looking at all of our other subjects. So I would say that, properly, that was like a liberal arts school. So it was actually kind of funny. I think I was strongest at like literature and philosophy and theology, and then I came here and I was like, I want to study engineering. Like, well, your physics and your math are maybe the things that you spent the least amount of time on. And I was like, well, that's then that's what I need to learn more about. But I think the lens, the worldview that gave me, and in high school, realizing that if I wasn't going to be sort of all in with my faith and commit to this like worldview that ties everything together, if you're not going to go 100%, you could probably just leave it alone. And I was like, well, I don't want to leave it alone. Like, this is so cool. This is really, a deep way of understanding the world. It's a mature outlook of the world, and I've never had it let me down. Let me try that again. I've always found it to be true, and I keep finding it to be true. So it's kind of like, once you give your assent, you're like, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this Catholic faith thing and really take it as my own. I think it's then that you really see the works and the proofs, and you see everything kind of come together. But it's almost like you have to like give it a try first. So, yeah. Yeah, I think my faith has definitely informed sort of where I wanted to go with engineering, as far as a career and work that I will do with my mind or my hands. So I had a great experience of studying abroad over the summer after my sophomore year in Dublin. And we took a day trip up to Belfast. And so, Dublin's it's a lively city, a lot of great things going on. And so we went from there to up to Belfast, and it was a gray day, and we're learning the history of just all of the conflict and all of the strife that still is sort of underlying in Irish culture, in Northern Ireland culture. Things that people are still working through. And we had tea to start off the day. We had tea in the Europa Hotel, which is the most bombed building in the world. I think the front room has been reconstructed I don't know how many times. So we started there. So we had this in our minds. There is a way that you can either bring sort of more peace to the world or not. And throughout the day we saw the big peace wall that separated and still separates communities within Northern Ireland. And we talked about just all of the fighting and sort of the people behind it, that it was real people, it was real communities that were in conflict. And it really struck me. Our professor asked us, what do you want your legacy to be? Because we were shown around by two great guys, two great gentlemen who were on sort of different sides of that peace wall. One of them had fought and been in sort of like a volunteer militia, and another had been, he says, thankfully kept out of the fighting, but all of his family and his brothers had been involved in the fighting, and now they were sort of after the fighting and both working within their respective communities to bring about healing. And they knew it was going to be slow, and they knew they might not see sort of a real fruit within their life. But it struck me that when I work in engineering, the things that I make will either be things to make people's lives better or healthier, hopefully, or not. And I had been very interested in aerospace, military, and defense, and I'm the first person to say I support our troops, I support my friends in ROTC, and I love them. But it struck me as something personal that do I want to have what I make as an engineer be something that can blow you up at hundreds of miles, or something that can more tangibly bring people together and work for that peace. Now I think we have brilliant engineers that already have the tools that can keep us safe. And so what I saw was I'm needed somewhere else. I'm needed to bring about those connections that can foster an understanding, that can foster a peace that places like Northern Ireland need. And one person could do something small, but it's the small things that can add up to really help communities like that. And it's not just far away in Northern Ireland. I come back here and there's communities here that need support, connection, to feel like they're heard, to feel like they're a part of something. So that's why I'm excited to work in technology consulting, to really make things faster, easier, more connected. I've heard about great projects with making health records more accessible and and just better to understand and to use, making pharmaceutical manufacturing safer, because if you don't sort of add the components in correctly, it locks out, so that you have sort of the top-notch medicines for people that are made correctly and get to people at the right temperature and on time. And so I was inspired to try to find where in engineering I could make a difference to bring people together, to make lives better, in ways that an education at Notre Dame, educating not only the mind but also the heart, where I could use that best. I'm not sure how much my engineering studies have informed my faith. I can just kind of see it if I go through a day. So, like this morning, I woke up and I went to daily mass in my dorm, O'Neill Hall, and later today I'll probably stop into like the chapel at Stinson Remick or somewhere else and say the rosary. My friends that I study with, we'll work on homework together, we'll work on projects together, but we also give each other like prayer intentions. And so it's the small things, I think. They're not heavy-handed and like in your face, but it's sort of just like an integration in your life, so that everything you do is just connected with, like, say, the piece of knowing, like, I'm doing a lot of math or controls homework or my capstone project, but it's like the work that has been given me, and I should do it to the best of my ability, because it's like the work that God has given me to do here as a student. And I'm hanging out with friends, we get dinner, we'll study together, and it's the fellowship that I'm called to share in and to be a part of, to support them, and humbly accept their support of me, knowing that you can't do everything on your own, especially in engineering. I think coming out of high school, a lot of people come to Notre Dame, and they were the smartest, if not one of the smartest people at their high school, and they come here and they realize that, yeah, things are even harder, you're going to be challenged even more, and sometimes it's difficult to accept, like, hey, you can't do everything on your own anymore, and that's an invitation not only to accept the support of others that you might study with in your study groups, or to go to office hours and ask help from your professors. I think a lot of people never had to ask help before, and that's a humbling thing. But it's also an invitation to say, if I get an A on this test or I get a D on this test, my worth is not in my grades. My worth is not in, what my research lab produces, or, how cool my project is. To remember that, your worth comes from God's love for you, and that doesn't change based on, like, how well you do in school. But that, you can ask for God's help, and you should. And so, there are tough things in studying engineering that really are God's invitation to come to Him with your homework. You might think, like, oh, well, that's not my grandmother being sick, or that's not, my cousin breaking his foot or something. It's little things, but God wants all of the little things. And when you're in the middle of a project, that little thing can seem like a very big thing. God wants it. He wants to hear about it. He wants to be, in your life, just like your friends in your study group, and just like your professors, and He wants to be there with you. And to really let Him in is something that makes doing the homeworks, doing the projects, more peaceful, I think more satisfying, because there's an end to it. You remember, like, yeah, I'm not only learning this for the sake of knowledge, I'm learning this because I want to be able to do something with it. I want to be able to serve people with this knowledge that I have. I'm going to be uniquely equipped as a burgeoning engineer to help people in some engineering technical way that that skills that I have that other people don't, to help people. And it's easy to say, but that's no small thing, to help people as an engineer. Yeah, so next year I will be working in Chicago with Accenture. I'll be a business technology analyst. And there were a couple different opportunities this past fall with career fair and recruiting, and I actually applied to some grad schools. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, And really the question was, what I wanted to do, but also, kind of where was God trying to lead me? And I think the first thing with any big decision like that is just to take it to prayer, really to not worry, and pray about it, sort of hold the options out to Him, and things really became clear. So I found that the intersection of what you're good at, like the talents that God has given you, and what you're passionate about, like what you really like, that intersection is where I think God leads you to do the best at what you're best at. And there are some things that you might be really passionate about, I don't know, gymnastics, but you're also really clumsy. Well, that can be fun as like a hobby, but perhaps you're not going to be or supposed to be, an Olympic gymnast. But if you find you really like working on teams, and you really love working with people, and getting ideas and brainstorming and synthesizing new ideas from input from others, and you really like traveling, and you really like learning about new things on the fly, and you really enjoy just bringing all kinds of different ideas together to make something work in the end, as I do. You find a place that would let you do all of those things, and you say, oh, I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to do. That's it. That's what you're supposed to do if you're good at it, and that's where your passion lies. God has given you your talents, and He's fostered in you a desire to serve Him in a way that plays to your talents. It might be big things, it might be small things, but theirs is where you can find sort of ways to serve people that you're going to be uniquely good at, and that's the place for you. That's the place where you're going to be His hands and speak His peace to the people that need it. Yeah, so I think the one certain thing that I know about this position is that every day is new, which to me is an exciting challenge. So there are many forms that this position takes, and I'm not quite sure where I'm going to fit into that. But I like to think that I'm versatile, maybe, but I love to learn. So any new place, whether it be, I've heard people going back and forth to London or to Miami, or even to like North Dakota, to work on projects. In London, there's a company that's huge in retail, and they need a system to connect all of their payments and get people receipts so that people know exactly how much they spent, and if your credit card gets stolen, they can lock it out, and that saves people a lot of hassle. Or in Miami, sort of amusement and vacations, and making a system that makes getting off the plane and getting into your hotel and into your family vacation that much easier, that it can connect kind of what you want to have for breakfast with your room number, and so then you don't have to carry cash around with you, and you don't need your wallet, so you're just that much more relaxed because you're not going to lose anything on your family vacations. You can be more focused on being with your family. It's kind of some background things that this company does that makes things a lot easier for people and for their clients. So I'm excited to see what I'll be doing, because I really appreciate sort of the people that do stuff in the background that just makes everything that much more like fluid and easier. Yeah, I think I'm joining a company where everyone appreciates a good plan that's well executed. Yeah, my first point of advice would be figure out how office hours work and actually talk to your professors. It can save you a lot of time spinning your wheels on homework. The second thing kind of goes along with that. Work in groups. It might not be your thing to study for exams in groups, but talk to other people. You could stare at your work for 4 hours and not understand what's going wrong, and your friend's going to say, hey, you dropped a negative sign there. 10 minutes. They found it. There's a humility in accepting the support and the help of others, but it'll save you a lot of time, and it'll make you feel a lot better. And then going back to talking with professors, your professors are real people. They've gone through, studying engineering. They've done it all before. So, you find some professors that you really connect with, and, they understand what you're doing, and they understand sort of the options in front of you. So you can talk with them about, where you'd want to go with a career, or with research and academia, or just about even like an internship for the summer. So I got my internship in Silicon Valley at one of the top robotics companies in the world because I talked to my professor and he said, oh, you liked what we did in this class? Well, let me connect you with a student I had 20 years ago, and he's doing great, and he's out in California. Give him a call. And yeah, they're not really recruiting here, but if I say, hey, this is another good student, and you were a good student, I'd give them a chance at one of your sort of interview cases. It could pan out, and you could have one of the best experiences, in your college career. So, yeah. I don't know if this has any place in the video, but I really respect Dean Kilpatrick and how he has, I think I saw him in the Irish Rover, how he has tangibly, but not in a heavy-handed way, connected his engineering career and his direction of the College of Engineering with his faith. That it's not something that has to be in your face, but it's like an underlying connection. It's kind of like, we don't really think about the blood that runs through our veins, but it's the force that connects everything and brings everything together in a cohesive way. So I really respect him, and also he came and saw us during our summer study abroad, so that was really cool. It's like, oh, he's the dean of our whole college. No, he's here. He's have dinner with us. He's a real person too.